thank you for the invitation, and I'm sorry for my English, but I will try to do my best. So let's start. Yeah, exactly. I will say just 2 words about the background and a little bit of methods, and then just show you the results of the first point prevalence we have done in the long-term care facilities last September. So why did we do this point prevalence? I mean, we have the strategy STAR, and also you all know that since about 10 years, with primarily the focus on the acute care setting, and now the last days switching also to the long-term care settings. We have a little bit of data that we know since 2018, 2019, where we have done with the people from the Canton de Vaud a little point prevalence survey in our 2 cantons, where we had a look at how many healthcare-associated infections do we have and how many antimicrobials were used. And then you all know we had COVID, and COVID has had, in this aspect, 2 things. A good thing that was that it raised the awareness and it opened a sort of window of opportunity to work in this field. It has also highlighted the gaps in IPC in the long-term care facilities, as you all know, with a lot of cases. So what was the aim of SPOT? The aim was to estimate the prevalence of healthcare-associated infections and the use of antimicrobials in Swiss long-term care facilities. And we had a look at the structures and the process indicators for IPC and antimicrobial stewardship in these long-term care facilities. How did we do that? It was a point prevalence, so we had a look at the given day in a time period, how many antibiotics were used in this residence and how many infections did they had. And we had a survey with questions for IPC and antimicrobial stewardship structure element. We have done that in a representative sample of long-term care facilities, so the methods, they are similar to the methods used by the European surveys, and we have done a random sampling based on the location and the size of the long-term care facilities. But we asked all long-term care facilities to join us if they were interested. We have done that in September 2024, outside of the classic viral season, as the Europeans did that as well. So we included all residents. They were present in the long-term care facilities on the survey day, and we have done the data collection, as I mentioned before, based on the HALT4 protocol by the Europeans, with a few Swiss adaptations that we have done. We have published the data, and I will compare the data also with the European data. They have been collected in 2023 and 2024 in the European long-term care facilities. Yes, just switching to the results, we have included 94 institutions, and you can see the red circles are the circles for the representative sample where they are located, and the black ones are the ones for the additional institutions. And you can see that we had some cantons. They were very interesting to have better data for the whole canton, like the Tessin, where we have included all the long-term care facilities from the canton of Tessin, and for example the canton of Neuchâtel, where we have included also a representative sample of long-term care facilities. So, as I said, 94 institutions, 7,244 residents were included, and if you compare that also with the data from the ECDC, Germany and France, you can see that we have a quite good sample size. We have included more institutions than the German, the France, even if we are a much smaller country. Median of beds are 67. That's about what is the average in Europe. It's a bit bigger. And then we had a look, what are the physicians in charge of the long-term care facilities? And we have about half of the long-term care facilities, they have a system that they have a GP going to their individual resident or patient. And then we have about 16% that have, of the institution, they have a physician that is attributed to their own long-term care facilities. Then you can see it's a bit different if you look at the German, French, or Italian-speaking part of Switzerland. Then we included, as I said, 7,000 residents. Median age was 87, 2/3 females. About 1/3 had an impaired mobility, that's bedridden or wheelchair. 2/3 are incontinence, urine or stool. Then 60% were disorientated, 7% had an urinary catheter, and less than 1% had a vascular catheter on the day where we have done the survey. What we have done additionally to the Europeans, that we ask how many PP as a proton pump inhibitors were used on the day, with the idea that is in one mind that is a known risk factor for pulmonary tract infections, but also reflecting a little bit the polypharmacy these patients have. So how many infections did they have overall? On the day where we have done the survey, 2.3% of the residents had at least one healthcare-associated infection associated with their long-term care facilities they were living in. Then we had a look at the different regions of Switzerland, and we compared that with the European ones. Europe had in 2023, 2024, 3.1, and if you have a look at our neighbors like France and Germany, it's 2.4 and 0.9% of infections. Now what kind of infection that was? 44% had a urinary tract infection, about 20% respiratory if you take COVID together, 15% skin and soft tissue infections, and then some minor other ones. That also is quite comparable to the European ones. They have a bit less urinary tract infections and a bit more respiratory tract infection that we had. Then switching to the antimicrobial use, overall we had 2.7% of the residents had an antimicrobial, and most of the substances used were antibiotics on the day. And here we can see quite a difference of the language regions, with 5.9% in the French-speaking part, 1.8% in the German, and 2% in the Italian-speaking part. Again, if we compare that to the European data, we see that 4.1 was the prevalence in the European countries, a quite big difference in the countries. They were included, 2.6 for France and 1.2 for Germany. Again, what antimicrobial substances were used? Nearly 30% were aminopenicillins, 16% nitrofurantoin, 17% trimethoprim, that's the Bactrim, and 10% quinolones. Again, if you compare that with the 35% aminopenicillin, so a little bit more aminopenicillin for the European ones, and then fosfomycin and nitrofurantoin. Then we ask what was the indication. 2/3 of the indication was treatment, and 1/3, and maybe we can discuss that at the end, was the indication of prophylaxis. The 2/3 of the treatments were mainly, they fulfilled the criteria of healthcare-associated infections, and 1/3 was prophylaxis. We didn't ask what was the indication of prophylaxis, but you can see afterwards when we have a look at what substances were used, that they were mainly for urinary tract infections. France and Germany, they have a little bit less prophylaxis indication than we had in Switzerland. Then if we have a look which region, language region, which antimicrobials were used, you can see that in maybe some differences. In the French part of Switzerland, they use a little bit more aminopenicillins, and maybe Emmanuel can say afterwards if that's due to different guidelines. In the Italian-speaking language, you have a little bit more quinolones than maybe in the other languages that are data that we know already. Also, if we look for the ambulatory prescription, they use a little bit more quinolones in the Italian-speaking part. And the others are mainly nitrofurantoin, quinolones, and trimethoprim with smaller amounts. Then, which antibiotic was used by indication? So you can see, and that's quite clear, for urinary tract infections, you have mainly nitrofurantoin, some quinolones, and some trimethoprim. Then for respiratory tract infections, you have the aminopenicillin, skin and soft tissue infections. You have other that's mainly also the clindamycin or the aminopenicillin. Then we come to the prophylaxis. You can see that we have quite, at least half of it were substances we are known, most of the time are used for urinary tract infections, but we suppose that these are these long term antibiotics, they are used for recurrent UTIs. Then we had a look at which classification was mostly used, depending on the German, French, and Italian-speaking part, using this access, watch, and reserve classification, and we are happy that we didn't have any reserve indications. We have a bit more access use in the German-speaking part than in the French or the Italian-speaking part. And then we had a look which could be the risk factors associated with antimicrobial use, and you can't read that, and I will highlight or show you the details here. So the use of a PPI was associated with more use of antimicrobial substances, and that's quite clear. Probably there are institutions that are more prone to use any kind of tablets, so probably also PPIs and antibiotics. Then we have if patients or if residents have a urinary catheter, that's a risk factor, if they have a chronic wound or a decubitus, and if they've been in hospital the last 3 months or had some surgery in the last 90 days. And then the only clear risk factor on an institutional level was the language region that was showed in the multivariate analysis. Then we had a look what antimicrobial stewardship elements do they have in their institution, and we saw that nearly half of the institution, they do not have any of these antimicrobial stewardship elements. And that's all kind of elements we ask for, like do they make a surveillance, do they have written guidelines, do they have a restriction, do they have therapeutic guidelines, do they teach, or do they have the specific diagnostic stewardship elements. And you see also what was quite interesting, that the Italian part had more elements in nearly all, and what they had most of the time, if they had something that they had some surveillance on antimicrobial consumption by substances, or they had some written guidelines for antimicrobial use. And then again, if we compare that with our neighbors, the European Union, they have 60%, they have any element, and Germany, for example, in 90% of their institutions, they have at least one of these antimicrobial stewardship elements. And we can maybe discuss afterwards what is useful here, and which one could be more important, if they're all equally important, or if one or the other is more important. Okay, then we asked them how is their perception on antimicrobial use, and 90% of the institutions thought it's a very important theme. And what would they like to have more? They would like to have more guidelines, they would like to have fewer unnecessary diagnostic, and they would need more training. Okay, then I already come to the conclusions. I think we see that a high prevalence is quite similar across regions, and it's quite similar across to the UE average, like maybe a little bit higher than for example Germany, but say Germany, they have a very little data, that's about 40 or 50 institutions that were included. I'm not very sure that they're representative for the whole Germany. Most common infections are UTIs, but I think what is very important to stress here on, that's outside of the viral season. I think the main problem in the long-term care facilities is probably one of the main problems that you have in your GP practices as well. That's the viral respiratory tract infection. And then we have had a lot of discussion when we were planning the spot, if we would do it like the Europeans one outside of the viral season to be comparable, or if we do it in the viral season. The problem is then you have such a local difference that you can really not compare the data. And the urinary catheter is a potentially modifiable risk factor that we could maybe also think what we could do here. Then the antibiotic consumption varies widely across region, and it's not only varies across region, but it varies widely across institutions. We have quite some institutions that have until 30% of antimicrobial use, and we have a lot of them that are doing a perfectly good work. So I think the question could be, could we identify some of this institution with a lot of high use of antimicrobials, and just not doing something for all of the institution, even if they do a very good work in general. And the prophylaxis is a common indication for antimicrobial use. I think here we have something. We could have a closer look. 1/3 of the indication is prophylaxis. That I think that's not really a point for giving so much prophylaxis in this specific setting. But I think we need here a little bit better data. And antibiotic sewer chip structures are missing in many facilities. And when we ask them what they think about antimicrobial sewer chip elements, the institutions, they always say antimicrobials are not our thing. That's the GP that has to have a closer look. So it's a little bit delegating the responsibility. So what we could discuss maybe at the end, or the discussion afterward, what are the implications of all these days and what measures should be taken? I think we could think a bit at which level. We have the health authorities, we said we have the national strategies, we have the institution that we have to think what measures should they take, and then we have the physician in charge, and I'm very happy that to discuss that with you, what could be done here, and then think we have the level of the resident we shouldn't forget. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention, and all those that have helped to get all this data. Thank you very much.